Welcome everybody, thank you guys for joining me again. My name is Wilkie and I'm here with a quick patch recap of the official patch notes that we just received on the Russian server, so let's dive right into that. As usual, I will only cover at least the ones for me important, and I think the generally most important covers or aspects of those patch notes. As usual, those links will also be found in the description below, so if you want to read up on those patch notes yourself, be free to do so. Links are going to be found in the description below. Now, I think the elephant in the room is the Enchantress or the Sorceress. A lot of people have waited for it, so there it is, we now have it. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to try out Sorceress myself, to be honest, but it's definitely a huge addition to the game. Closely followed by the Overallpatchnotes raid. I think this is something a lot of people have been looking forward to do new content, to do even harder content than the existing content, in order to hone their skills and build on their groups. Outside of this, we have a bunch of new modes. The Deja Vu mode, which is basically like a weaker version, similar to the rehearsal we did with Clown. Then we have recycling into the new equipment, so that means new sets. We have a new Guardian raid, new cubes, new paths. So basically a lot of new content that is reflecting the current item level and gear score that we have on the Russian server. I think outside of these things here, Epona badges increase is always really good, especially for those people above 14-19, means even more gold per week. We now see the chances to get the skins when using the Arcane Transfigurators. I think this is a very nice addition. Outside of this, a few quality of life additions, a social battle pass, an event that I'll cover later on. A few other things, you can now blacklist 100 people. I don't know if anybody ever kept out of that, and a few bug fixes. So like I said, overall TLDR for this section here would be Sorceress release, Overallpatchnotes, new gears, new Guardian, new cubes, new paths, and a few other things. But as I said, links are going to be in the description below. The other changes here that I think are really important is the battle pass, the social event. Now I just briefly checked on it in game because the translation is not up to date, so I don't fully understand how this works. But all of these nodes have a pretty good amount of rewards, so if you are on the Russian server and you're looking to progress, or you're looking to shoot your character out of lower tier 3 into mid tier 3, this is one of those events. I'll probably make a separate video talking about this event here once we have the updated patcher available, so we actually know what is written there, because I can't read all of that. But at least what I've currently seen and what you can click here, there's a boatload of materials to be obtained. So definitely capitalize on that event. Outside of this, we have a New Year's event, which we can use in order to get new food items, which I don't really know what all of those stats mean, but this seems pretty. This is probably going to be attack power up, defense, recovery, attack speed, movement. Yeah, I don't really know what all of this means yet. So let's wait for the patcher to be up to date. Outside of this, I think those, especially this event here, is going to be drastically huge in order to give you guys a boost towards tier 3. Outside of this, some quality of life changes. I don't know why they call it camping templates. We now have the templates which include engravings, gems, card sets, and all of that. So we no longer switch each of those presets by ourselves, but we have like a full page where we have everything inside that defines a build, which is really, really good. So with the click of a button, you actually switch everything around, so you can set up new gems, different card sets for different builds, for different engravings, and stuff like that, which is really, really huge. And last but not least, we have 24 character slots to accommodate for every class in the game. This is the second thing. The third thing is going to be the class changes. Now, I'm not going to cover every class here because I don't play all of the classes. I'm just going to cover the ones that I think are important and that I know. We're going to start off with Paladin. Now, this is something that I touched on my Paladin guide. We now have the counterattack on Harsh Retribution as well, which makes this really good because finally Holy Knight has 2 counter abilities. Both of these abilities are generally used anyway, but now they are more useful than ever, especially in raids like Beakis, Fulton, or any Guardian or Legion raid or Legion Commander that does actually use a high amount of counterattacks. Really, really good. Rufian's Word has been changed for the barrier. Outside of this, the biggest change for Paladins is this one, Lutran's Cord. So this is the Holy Knight Awakening, and I should probably slap a video in here. Prior to that, you had that little circle, and that shield only applied to that circle here. Now that is a 24 yard, I think that should say meters, and it basically expands like similar like Bard Awakening. You just pop it and in a radius around the Bard, everybody gets the shield. Same thing here. It's no longer that little circle here, as you can see here on the screen. I'm just adding a video here. But instead, it actually is now a fully fleshed out AoE, which makes it really good because you're actually going to be able to hit that. So for Lancemasters, nothing too crazy. They just slightly ramped up the damage of Full Moon. I don't really know if that's making a difference or a huge dent. If they would have added like another 10 or 15%, I could have maybe considered that. I don't really think it'll make a huge difference. I still think Superiority of the Stars is still very much superior. Now, Striker has a little bit more of a change. You now gain a little bit of a different gauge. They changed a few skills, peculiarities, the energy consumption, and the engraving. This is, as usual, the biggest change. Prior to that, you needed to have a level 3 elements balance, is what it's called in the Russian server, to have no damage negative. Now, even at level 1, you get 8%, and at level 3, you get an 18% damage when you use skills with the orbs. So that's pretty good. Now, Devil Hunter, this is probably the most crucial one here. We now have, finally, some extra defense again. The engraving has been changed, or the handgun engraving, I should say, has been changed. So now you have even more damage. It increased the depletion damage, and it also increased the awakening damage. Also, some of the skills that have been changed now have destruction on it. So all the more they're trying to make Handgunner a viable build, especially because one of the key features that Handgunner was lacking was the fact that you didn't really have a lot of destruction or impairment to boot. Overall, every shotgun skill is increased by 5.5% in PvE. So this is a flat 5.5% damage buff in PvE. Really good. Also, all of those tripods for Wasteland, that is Omen of the Apocalypse, that is Shotgun Barrage, and Shotgun Ruler, all of those have a 5% damage increase on this tripod here. So you can see, when shooting a point blank, it was 20%, now it's 25, 20%, 20.5, and at the end, it's always a 5% increase. So overall, another 5% damage increase if you were to use those tripods, and I think most people should be using those tripods. So overall, those 3 skills received a 10% damage buff, if you will, and everything else a 5.5% damage buff. Dirty Welcome was a bit changed. We now have a 5-meter dash, but they removed this dash tripod, which makes sense because formerly it was 4 meters, and the level 1 tripod added 1 meter, so now it's basically a built-in, so it's a slight buff. And with a different tripod here. Now, this is the meat and balls of things. Control Shot, which is called Cruel Chaser, has been changed, and Shootout. Now, Quick Shot becomes a pocket nuke with a whooping 780% damage increase on the max level tripod there. So this is pretty heavy. I mean, it increases the cooldown by 12 seconds, but that is a pretty wild number. Same here, Cruel Chaser now is all the more usable, and I'll be covering that in a different video. We'll talk about the changes for Devil Hunter specifically. Outside of this, Sure Shot, this is Snipe or Perfect Shot, actually has been nerfed. So prior to that, you could basically zoom in and zoom out and just cancel your snipe if you used the specific tripod. This is no longer available. If you cancel with the preparation tripod, you now will be induced a 3-second cooldown. So that means you can't just cancel in, cancel out, and to force people to move. But if you cancel it prematurely, you will have a 3-second cooldown, which is still better than having wasted the entire skill, but it definitely takes away one of the pressure tools that we had. Outside of this, I don't think there is any other class that I typically play that has been mentioned here pretty much. So this sums it up. As usual, there are plenty more changes, so feel free to check out the classes that you play. Those are the ones that I play. Oh yeah, I forgot one big one. Excuse me. I forgot one big one. We're getting Madness rework. So definitely try out Berserker with a Madness rework. I totally forgot about this. Excuse me. This is huge. And this is definitely something that has to be play tested and field tested. So feel free to check that out. Outside of this, this is a quick, short recap. As usual, timestamps are going to be in the description below, and the links, you can find that in the description below as well. Outside of this, I do hope this was somewhat helpful, and I'll see you guys the next time, so do stay safe. Maybe see you guys on stream. As usual, I stream every now and then. You can find me on Twitch here as well. Outside of this, I do want you guys to stay safe. Have a Merry Christmas in case we're not seeing each other anymore. And, take care.
until I'm a state of fact.